So we are already down here, basically talking about which company is so dumb to make open source software, not to use but to contribute, to actually write and develop open source software. In other words, I will spend all this time, put in all this effort to write this program, but to make it available to everybody, including my competitors. Okay, so why would that even be a good idea? So I'm just going to, there's an article here. I'll just give you a little glimpse of the article itself. I think for people who are interested, you should definitely read this particular topic. But for the rest of you, if you don't really care, you don't have to read it. But I think it's kind of interesting. World's biggest open source company, Google. Okay, Google is, and there's a reason why Google is contributing to open source, because Google does not sell licenses of their software. Okay, that's not how they make their money. Now, don't take me wrong. I don't think Google exists for the benefit of humankind or anything like that. I mean, they have stockholders, just like Microsoft, or IBM or HP or many other companies, Walmart and so on. So they have pressure to perform well financially, because otherwise the stockholders won't be very happy, right?
So
I'd probably.
Do they make their money? How do they make their money?
They make money by advertisement. Google makes money by advertisement. Yeah, go ahead.
I read something that said that Google was buying like 3 companies a day.
Sorry?
They're buying like 3 companies a day.
They're buying 3 companies a day. I would not be surprised, because what they do is they try to absorb all that technology. Okay, so I think I cannot remember which one is first. Okay, I'll go. Okay, go ahead.
I heard that Google is called Google because they sell our information, emails to the advertising company.
When you have to read the user agreement, when you sign up for a Google account, to find out exactly what they can sell or disclose to affiliated companies. Yep, go ahead.
She's right. That's kind of what I was going to say. In that, I remember maybe 6 months ago, Google and Facebook just going at it over who would have domain over the advertising on the internet.
They absolutely hate each other, and that's why you want to be able to be employable to either one, because if you are good and one company wants you, you can go to the other company and say, so how much money are you willing to offer? And I'm not kidding. Okay, I'm not kidding. I know someone who is the son of one of my wife's colleagues. He was a graduate student at Berkeley, and he interviewed at both companies, both Google and Facebook. When he interviewed at Facebook, he got a certain offer. When he went to the other company, he basically said, okay, I already got an offer from this company, with this much money, and then the other company had to actually up that amount, to say, okay, why don't you come work for us instead of those guys? Okay, so I think that's good. And he was a graduate student at the time. I think he's still a graduate student. So he was looking for internship, summer job or something like that. And he was already making more money per month than her mom, who has been working for the state for many, many years. Yeah, her mom just said, oh man, what am I doing here? You mean my son is making more money even before he is done with school? So the technical sector, the technology sector or software sector has definitely picked up already, around in the Bay Area, and it's definitely heating up. The competition is heating up. Yep, go ahead.
Did you notice Facebook has a new graphic look?
I really do not.
Facebook has a search engine.
I don't know. I don't use Facebook enough to.
Yeah.
Okay. I do not know.
About it?
Nope, I do not. I don't use Facebook enough to notice, any change of features. Yep, go ahead.
The only function of that search engine is to search for stuff on Facebook.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, they redid it. So
No, this is really new.
This is really new.
It's a graphic search.
Graphic
There's
Really
search.
new.
Features that go.
You can get different things, and it's just like Google. It's kind of like a search engine.
Okay. I think that's possible that they want to do that, just to kind of expand, their business and marketing, so that people don't have to get out of Facebook when they want to do some, general search. Because when people go out to Google, Google has, Google Plus and, Google Hangout and many of the other of the features, of Facebook. So these two companies are definitely trying to step on each other. Before it's kind of like, okay, we do social stuff and you guys do search stuff, right? But they're now, kind of closing in on each other, quite a bit. So I think it'll be interesting to see, how these two companies, duke it out in the near future. Are there any questions? Any questions? Okay. But getting back to the topic of open source, Google, is one of the, big open source companies. But that's kind of understandable because Google does not sell software. It doesn't do much, about software, by itself. Other companies like HP and IBM, IBM particularly is an interesting case because they used to send an entire army of lawyers to Sun, talking about patent stuff and whatnot. So why would a company who's so protective about its patents be, so open about open source? It's like, okay, we'll do the software, you guys can use it for free. Okay, so that's kind of like a big change of philosophy. I mean, why would they do something like that? So we're going to focus on this today by an example. And this is obviously just an example, so IBM may or may not have done this. So we'll start with this statement here and say that IBM comes up with a great file system that is robust, efficient, flexible, and all the other good things that we expect from a good file system. Okay, a file system, as we have already mentioned, like FAT32 or NTFS, stuff like that, it is a way to organize storage on a hard drive. Okay, and not all file systems are the same. Some file systems, like FAT32, is not very robust. Okay, if you shut down your computer by unplugging your computer and did not give the operating system a chance to properly shut down, FAT32 can lose a lot of files. Okay, and you can salvage some of those, but it can potentially lose a lot of files. NTFS is fairly resistant to that sort of thing. I mean, if you unplug your computer, yes, you might lose 1 or 2 files, but in general, you can, there's very little damage to the file system. So let's say IBM comes up with a new way of doing things and is much better than anything else. If IBM make this file system open source, then anybody can use it, including its competitors like HP and Oracle and so on and so forth. So why would IBM do something like that? If I have something that's good, that's technically superior to all my competitors, I probably want to keep it proprietary, right? Keep it in my back pocket as my, trump card. Why would I make it open source and lose my competitive edge? Yep.
IBM likes to make money on consulting more than selling a product.
Exactly. That's one of the points that I'm going to make a little bit later. Is IBM is not they're not selling licenses of the software. It's not like if you install our file system, we'll charge you $20 a year, or for every upgrade we'll charge you $15. Yep.
Yeah, like you said, to reiterate, they want the service.
Yep, they want your service. I mean, it doesn't matter, if Joe Schmo, knows how to use the IBM file system, because nobody trusts Joe Schmo the way they trust IBM, right?
Yeah.
That's the big difference. Okay, Joe Schmo can install it on his own computer, and IBM says, okay, that's fine. We're not losing any business. You're not one of our potential customers to begin with. Okay, Joe Schmo can approach the state of California to the franchise tax board and say, you know what, I know how to work with this file system. They look at Joe Schmo and go like, yeah, but what happens when you're involved in a car accident and you can no longer come to our site in case of trouble? You know what, my brother knows it too. Okay, but if the franchise tax board approaches IBM, they know that IBM will stand behind the product 100%. That's one of the things that IBM is really famous for, and most people do not even know, is how the length they will go to support their service and their customers. They still have old computers like the 360 and 370 computers. Some organizations are still running those dinosaurs. And IBM will basically search through the entire planet for parts so that they can repair those really, really old computers. Even though it's not cost effective anymore to do repair, they will still do it because their customers pay for that already.
So why keep the old dinosaurs?
Because they don't want to change the software. Because the cost of changing software to a business is actually a lot more in many cases than upgrading the hardware. The reason is really like this. Okay, it's not just the development cost of the software. It has to do with what if the software doesn't work the way it is supposed to. If you have 1 hour of downtime, depending on your organization, you may be losing millions of dollars already. If your software has a bug, it can cost you billions of dollars. Okay, so it's not because of the cost of software development itself, but it has to do with all the other contingencies that can happen when you switch software from something that is definitely working, or the problems already, you know how to get around everything, to something that is new and you have no idea what kind of new problems it may have.
So basically the old dinosaurs in some ways work better than the new computers.
From the software perspective, yes. From the hardware perspective, there's no comparison. Yep.
If a company pays like $60,000 for a license on a, say, Windows NT system,
Mm-hmm.
they're not gonna wanna upgrade to XP or 7 and pay another 60. So
Right.
they gotta weigh the options, and it's more effective for them to use an older system. That's what I'm just fine.
In the case of Windows, especially on the server edition of Windows, the pricing system is different from XP and the ones that we normally use. They have to pay annually. Okay, if you use Microsoft Windows, server edition, the district has to pay annual fees to keep their Windows license up to date. Because the license, it's entirely up to the licensing, the terms. Because the licensing term can basically say you pay once, and this is you can use it according to these terms for eternity. Okay, as long as you play by those rules. But the license can also say that this only gives you permission to use the software for the next year.
But
So
if they're using a third-party software that costs like a huge amount of money, they're
Right.
also not going to want to.
yeah, but you also have to worry about that Microsoft can decide not to support an older operating system anymore. So any exploit, any security holes will not be fixed. So there's that problem as well. So it's a big mess when it comes to should I upgrade or should I not upgrade? Yep.
So even if, supposing they got a free software update, they would still be hesitant about doing it just because the interruption of workflow and the possible
Yep.
errors that it might have.
Exactly. Absolutely. And there was another hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, wouldn't it be more financially smart to go to Linux or is it open source? Do they not have a support system that you can call or hire somebody that's Linux?
That's Red Hat, right? That's basically why Red Hat is so successful, because it takes an open source product, which is free for everybody to begin with, but they support it. Okay, they say, okay, if you have problems configuring your system, call us, or we'll send someone over to your site to help you configure your servers, make sure everything is working.
Kind of like GeekSpot. Kind of like GeekSpot in a way.
Kind of like
GeekSpot, like the people that come out fix your computer.
Kind of like IBM, actually. Yeah, kind of like IBM, So Red Hat is kind of doing that sort of thing too. But getting back to our, topic here,